Experience with any member of their family that after about 5 minutes thinks that you're wearing tin foil on your head. Okay. Who here has been in sales? There you go. Now, tough job. If you don't sell, you don't eat. And so what a good salesperson does is they very quickly, the first skill a salesperson gets is to, no, it's not bullshit, it's to find a buyer. Does that make sense? Because you don't waste 20, 30 minutes talking to somebody if they're not going to buy. Now, once you've found a buyer, the next step is you've got to find out what moves them, what motivates them. What are their strengths, weaknesses, needs, wants, and sensitivities. And once you find that, you speak a language they understand and you get through. Now, they might buy and they might not buy, but that's not the point. You've got to communicate effectively. So let's break down this for you. Black hats, white hats. Now, think of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green. We got it? What's going to turn the black hats into good people? Nothing. So you don't bother. You just get the gallows out. That makes sense? Now the black hats only get stuff done because the red hats right alongside them are these mindless drones that just do what they're told. And they just literally just follow orders, and even if you told them what they were doing was an egregious crime against humanity, they say, doesn't matter, I'm going to do it anyway. Go build a concentration camp. Have gas pipes attached to each of the cabins so you can gas them as you go. As long as the contract is good and they get paid, they're in. They're the red hats. Now, how do you shift a red hat? The only thing that shifts a red hat is the arrest and execution of a black hat. Does that make sense? And then the red hats, being the little prissies that they are, even if they're wearing badges and carrying Glocks, they cry like little babies and they start spilling on their mates. But that's not our job. It's not our job to arrest black hats. That's somebody else's job. And ladies and gentlemen, it has already started. It has already started. And so the red hats are seeing this and they're being brought in and they're being told, should I be telling you this stuff or not? Okay. All right, Donald, don't beat me up, Donald. It's okay. So the red hats are now squealing like stuck pigs. And they're passing on more information about other bad actors. That makes sense. Now that's how you get them. You show them evidence that they're for the high jump and they start talking. Now they're the red hats. That's not our job, but just so you know, this has already started. It started some time ago. The next set are the orange hats. Red, orange, yellow. The orange hats. Now who are the orange hats? The orange hats, they are the ABC watchers. They think Koshi is the source and font of all wisdom. And if it's on TV, it must be true because it wouldn't be on TV if it wasn't true. Right, that's the orange hats. Now, we all used to be an orange hat at some point in our lives, with a few exceptions, correct? If you're honest? Yeah. Absolutely. Until I heard Koshi say, we're in Afghanistan because it's a women's rights issue. What? Really? Good. The point is the orange hats. So what moves the orange hats? And these guys believe. These are the people that say, you know, if Scott Morrison knew what was going on, he'd do something about it because he's a good bloke.
He is doing something.
So, what moves the orange hats? Evidence of crime. Evidence of crime. Now understand, when you're selling, when you're communicating effectively, you've got to know what moves them. So you get an orange hat and they see on the... As I said earlier, by those same trusted faces, you remember the trusted faces that we've got to use? That same trusted face turns up and says, oh look, this politician for the seat of Upper Kumbukta West was guilty of pedophilia and is being charged and locked up forever. And everybody watches it and the orange hats go, oh good, all right, I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. And we're moving them from orange through to where we are. We're way down here. So when you're trying to persuade somebody of something, if they're an orange hat, you've got to use evidence of malfeasance, of crime, of wrongdoing. Does that make sense? If you show them a shaking body because somebody's got an adverse reaction to the vax, they'll say, oh, well, that's just somebody sick. I don't know what you're talking about. Evidence of crime will move the orange hats. The reason I'm going through this with you is because we, as the leaders of this movement, and everyone here is a leader. None here are followers. That's the whole deal. As you lead this movement, you have to start bringing people with you. You have to start growing your army. Does that make sense? Absolutely. So the orange hats, they believe the news, show them evidence of crime in a properly constituted court by a properly constituted authority. Now, it's bad news for the common law people. You can appoint all the sheriffs you want, but the people don't believe. You might be right, but that's not the point. The people don't believe you. Does that make sense? They have a perspective that needs to be met. So if Peter Credlin says somebody got arrested for crimes and they're a politician, that's how you shift them. That's the orange hats. Now, next to the orange hats are the yellow hats. And unfortunately, this is about half the country if you're looking at the demographics, the yellow hats. The yellow hats don't care. You can show them evidence of crime. You can show them pictures of abused children, satanic ritual abuse, full-term abortion. They don't care. That's just the way they're made. All they want to do is don't tell me, I don't know, I don't want to know. They just want to stay in their little cage, get paid, do their job, get their Netflix, grow their potatoes at the back, but they don't want to know the truth. So that's not going to work for them. That is not going to work. Don't waste your time. Now you might feel as aggrieved as I do. I cannot imagine someone who isn't moved by the sheer barbarity of what's being perpetrated to the Australian people. But you've got to understand, they are not moved. So you can get angry all you want to, but it's not going to work if you try to sell them the wrong way. So what moves the yellow hats? Fear of losing their little world. They are so terrified of change, they are so resistant to change, that they would rather be aware of and ignore these horrendous crimes against us, the entire people, and do nothing. Nothing to do with me. But what will move them is fearing losing what they've got. They must fear what's behind them more than what's in front of them. Does that make sense? So they are feared by the digitisation of their land titles and the sale of those land titles to a private corporation. And all of a sudden you've got their attention. Have you noticed that? You can talk about all this other stuff, but the moment you talk about that you're going to lose your house, they can't do that, they just did. Beg your pardon, what? No, they can't. They just did. No. And so this fear of losing this tiny counterfeit life they've built for themselves is what will move them forward to join us. Understand? Yeah. Okay, so that's the red, the orange and the yellow, the greens. The greens are good to go. These are the people who are willing to listen. You don't need to move them. They're ready to go. They just need to know where we are, because we're the blue hats. We're right alongside the white. We're the blue hats. We're ready to fight. We're ready to stay here until we win. The green hats are going to come with us. Just find the green hats and bring them on board. Shift the yellow to green, shift the orange to yellow, and so away you go. Does that make sense? This is how we grow the army in a very short period of time. You've got to communicate effectively and efficiently with these people. Speak their language the way they understand it. If we do this, this army will grow. As this army grows, they become more frightened. And eventually, this will all collapse. Now, we are closer than you think. We're not talking years. This is not years. We are closer than you think, but you've got to keep pushing as if it is years away. You cannot afford to slow down one bit. Just keep that inexorable forward movement. Keep turning up here. Every camera, folks, every camera. Film it, upload it, film it, upload it, film it, upload it. And it doesn't matter what it is. If it doesn't turn you on, remember, the red hats, the orange hats, and the yellow hats all respond differently. So if you see something that doesn't particularly move you, it doesn't matter if it moves the people. Make sense? And our one job is to win the people. We win the people. And that's been said many, many times. This isn't about politics. This is about coming together as one, standing together against them, and knowing that they can no longer divide us. This is so key. So please, record it, upload it, and communicate with all these people in a way that means something to them. In a way that means something to them. If you do that, you will have more success. And you won't come home frustrated going, bloody Aunt Maud thinks that Bob Menzies is still the Prime Minister and he's doing a bang-up job. That's the truth of it, folks. This is in our hands. So for the next couple of weeks, do your best. Build the army, build the army. We want big numbers next Saturday and even bigger numbers the following Saturday. We've got 2 weeks to get this done, folks. We've got 2 weeks to really drive this nail into the coffin of those bastards up there. Last one. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Wolfgang Goethe, the German philosopher, writer, He said there's this invisible line in front of us, and behind this invisible line, this is me paraphrasing, life's pretty comfortable. You've got it squared away, you can understand it. But once you cross this invisible line, you're in a whole new world. Your legs get a bit wobbly, you're a bit uncertain. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And the only difference between me and anybody else out here is probably our height or our width. Because everyone here is constantly pushing that boundary, stepping forward, always stepping forward, becoming something new, trying something new, becoming more than you were yesterday. That's what we have to do, every last one of us. We have to step forward and do something today that we didn't do yesterday, and tomorrow do something we didn't do today. Constantly growing, constantly getting stronger, physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically and spiritually, constantly pushing forward. If you're comfortable, you're not in the right place, cross that invisible line and you will know how to live. Make sense? And every one of us here, every one of us, has potential that we cannot imagine resides within us. Some of you have been told for years you're nothing. You're everything. Every one of you has that divine spark in you, and every one of you has a destiny to fulfill. And it's no accident that you are here today to save this country. Every one of you is of vital importance, regardless of whether you know it or not. So take that divine spark of individuality and that human sovereignty that you have, because this is your land, and take it for a spin. I think you're going to love it. Thank you very much. Ricardo, bossy everybody.